श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते मधुदासधिकारीति नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna everyone, I welcome you to our special Ekadashi program today. We are in the holy month of Kartik, as we all know, and this is the most sacred month of the year. And to top it all, it's the favorite month of Lord Shri Krishna, right? So during this month, Lord Krishna performed many of his favorite pastimes, such as Damodar Leela, Ras Leela. This week we celebrated Gopashtami, the appearance day of Shri Radha Kund. And even Lord Ramchandra, after killing Ravan, he came back to Ayodhya on the day of Deepavali. And many more pastimes were performed during this special month. So the glories of Kartik are actually unlimited and they are profusely described in our holy scriptures. So I thought it would be nice if we could just read a few quotes that bring to life the wonderful spiritual potency of this month. So when one offers a ghee lamp to Lord Damodar during the month of Kartik, his sins from many thousands and millions of births perish in half an eye blink. And this is from the Hari Bhakti Vilas and also the Skanda Puran. And they are so specific here, they say half an eye blink. And it's also stated in the Skanda Puran that no sin exists anywhere in the three worlds that will not be purified by offering a ghee lamp to Lord Keshav during Kartik. So the Padma Puran further states, one who offers a steady ghee lamp to Lord Hari during the month of Kartik enjoys pastimes in Lord Hari's splendid spiritual world. And the Hari Bhakti Vilas says that anyone who recites or even hears Damodar Ashtakam, especially in Kartik, will attract the eternal shelter of devotional service at the lotus feet of Sri Damodar. So we all are so fortunate that just now we offered ghee lamps to the Lord while singing the divine Damodar Ashtakam. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that simply the observance of Kartik is one of the 64 limbs of devotional service. The Skanda Puran further states that as Satya Yuga is the best of yugas, as Vedas are the best among scriptures, As Ganga is the best of rivers, so Kartik is the best of months, the most dear to Lord Krishna, and all holy places reside in this month of Kartik, which is eternally dear to Lord Krishna. Whatever pious deeds one performs during this month to please Lord Vishnu bring benefit that is eternal. Now, interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has said that Masanam Margashirshoham, that among the months I am Margashish. But here it's stated that Kartik is his favorite month. Why is that? Because the worshipable deity of this month is our dear Srimati Radharani, who is more dear to Lord Krishna than even he himself. So he showers his causeless mercy during this month freely. And as they say, this is the Black Friday sale of the month or sale of the year, right? Damodar is famous as Bhakta Vatsal, and his month imbibes his characteristics. So even if we do a tiny bit of effort, tiny bit of devotional service, the month rewards us with huge results. So I'll share one final quote from Hari Bhakti Vilas, which says that a person who during the month of Kartik hears the topics of Lord Hari becomes free from the sufferings of hundreds and millions of births. So here's your incentive for hearing attentively today, right? You want to become free from sins of hundreds and millions of births. So as mentioned, the glories of Kartik are infinite, but its true glory is that by observing this holy month of Kartik, we attain pure loving devotion to Lord Krishna. So absorbing ourselves in this mood, let us now hear about today's topic, which is Bhisma Pancaka. So today we are beginning the holy period, which is known as Bhisma Panchak or Vishnu Panchak, the last 5 days of the glorious month of Kartik, and everyone should observe this sacred spiritual vow because it's very dear to Lord Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Verse 1, Lord Rishabdev is telling his sons, Shri Rishabha Uvacha, Nayam deho deha bhajam triloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujami tapo divyam putrakayena satvam shuddhe vyasmad brahma saukhyam tvanantam. So Lord Rishabdev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. So very harsh language and hard words. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So Lord Rishabdev is telling his sons that having achieved this rare human birth, he should not waste it simply in sense gratification, because that is available even in lower species of life. So the question is, what should we do? And he has given us the answer, Tapo Divyam, do divine austerities. And what are divine austerities? They are austerities which purify us, and they are for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. So to qualify as a divine austerity, it needs to meet two conditions. One, we must voluntarily accept some bodily hardship, and our aim should be to please Lord Krishna. So this Bhisma Panchak is such a divine austerity, and that's why all devotees of Lord Krishna try to observe it to the best of their ability. So in the Satya Yuga, this fast was performed by great sages such as Vasishtha, Bhrigu, Garga and others. Ambarish Maharaj performed it in the Treta Yuga. And interestingly, in their previous birth, the Pandavas had observed this fast unknowingly, which is why they became so dear to Lord Krishna. So Bhishma Dev, who had this unique boon to choose the time of his death, he also fasted for these 5 days, preparing to give up his body, and he attained great merit within them. Lord Krishna became very pleased with him, and he agreed to bestow his pure love on those fortunate souls who chant, sing, hear, read, worship and fast for these 5 days. So if perhaps we haven't been able to observe the month-long festival of Kartik, surely these last 5 days are doable by all of us, right? So Kartik is regarded as a great sale, and these 5 days are just like the clearance sale. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that if one were to observe these 5 days, it's as if one has observed the entire month of Kartik. So this auspicious and devotional vrata is so glorious that just hearing about this vrata destroys the sins of 10 million births. So we can imagine what will happen if we do the vrata, right? So we simply concentrate our devotional practices further acutely during these 5 days. We can gain the greatest wealth, and which is Krishna Prema. So today is Utthana Ekadashi. This is the first day of Bhisma Pancaka, as we discussed. Tukaram Maharaj, which some of you may know, was a great Vaishnav saint from Maharashtra. He has said that one who observes Ekadashi certainly attains Vaikuntha, the holy abode of the Lord. And Lord Krishna says in the Padma Puran, of all the plants, sacred Tulsi is most dear to me. Of all months, Kartik is most dear. Of all places of pilgrimage, my beloved Dwarka is most dear. And of all days, Ekadashi is most dear. So today...
The voice of the conversation from the back is a little distant.
Sorry.
Can you say something? Can you please
So today is most auspicious because it is the Lord's favorite day, Ekadashi, appearing in his favorite month, Kartik. Right? So Utthana Ekadashi is considered to be a great and pure Ekadashi. It is also known as Kartik Shukla Ekadashi, Dev Uthani Gyaras, Devotthana Ekadashi, Hari Prabodhini Ekadashi, Dev Prabodhini Ekadashi, Hari Bodhini, and Papa Harini Ekadashi. So it has a lot of different names. And it can eradicate the greatest of sins and award one passage to the spiritual abode. So 4 months ago when Chaturmas started, the Lord went to sleep, as we know, on Shayan Ekadashi or Ashad Shukla Ekadashi, and he is woken up today on Utthana Ekadashi. So actually to think that the Lord is sleeping for 4 months may not be right, because even if he sleeps for 4 minutes, how are the universal affairs going to be carried on? But as stated in the Brahma Samhita, it's explained, Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti. Any part of his body can perform the functions of other parts. Therefore, even when he is sleeping, he can perform all activities. So Chaturmas ends today. Those of us who have maybe observed the Chaturmas Vrat, today is the last day. It ends on Utthana Ekadashi. And one can now start performing auspicious activities which are generally not performed during Chaturmas, such as marriages, etc. In his song, Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu, from Sharanagati, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings, Madhavati thi bhakti janani, jatane palana gori, Krishna basati basati boli, paramadare bori. Holy days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami are the mother of devotion for those devotees who respect them. Let the holy places of Krishna's pastimes be my places of worship and bless me. So Ekadashi is Bhakti Janani, she is the mother of devotion, and she is also known as Madhavatithi or Hari Vasara, because Ekadashi is very dear to Lord Krishna. Hence we must observe it with great care and with an aim of pleasing the Lord. So Utthana Ekadashi is also the disappearance day of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is the revered spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the beloved Gurudev of our dear founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charana Ravinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So on such days the Acharyas are especially more merciful, hence we should all together chant the Pranam Mantra for Paramhamsa Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambar Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is renunciation personified. He is always merged in a feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna. So he is described as Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye, he is renunciation personified. And he was married at an early age, but he was always detached from householder life. He was always interested just in worshipping the Lord. So when his wife died, he left home and went to Vrindavan. And after accepting Babaji initiation, he stayed in Vrindavan Holy Dham for over 30 years and was deeply absorbed in devotional service. He also traveled outside Braja, and later on he came to Navadvip, where he remained for the rest of his life. He was akinchan, and we should try to develop this attitude where everything that we have should be utilized in Krishna's service. So Queen Kunti says in her prayers to Lord Krishna that Krishna is akinchana gochara, that he is easily attained by the materially exhausted. So seeking Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj's blessings, we will now glorify another devotee, dear devotee of the Lord, who is Sri Bhisma Dev. Now because Bhisma had imparted scriptural knowledge to Yudhishthir in these 5 days, it is especially glorious to hear about his pastimes during Bhisma Pancaka. So Lord Shiva has said that the Supreme Lord himself has given these 5 days to Bhisma Dev, and therefore Bhisma Panchak's 5 days are dedicated to Bhisma Dev. So as we know, he was born as Devavrat, the son of Mother Ganga and King Shantanu, and he became famous later as Bhishma when he took this terrible vow of remaining celibate lifelong for the sake of his father. So he was the grandfather of the Pandavas, who were great devotees of the Lord. He was a key figure in the history of India, and he was famous as a powerful warrior, commander-in-chief of the royal army, and he actually renounced, as we know, he renounced his claim to the throne of the world, as it's described in the Mahabharata. Now, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, he is one of the 12 Mahajans, or he is a Mahabhagavat, right? And his life is an epitome of sacrifice. So during these 5 days, we can actually take inspiration from his life, the way he lived his entire life in the midst of great royal opulence and comforts, and he was still living like a renunciant. So taking inspiration from his life, we should try to imbibe his qualities of sacrifice and austerity. Pitama Bhishma Dev's elevated spiritual consciousness was due to his uncommon, extraordinary and deep attachment to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna loved him so much that just to fulfill Bhishma Dev's vow and sacrificing his own promise of not fighting, Krishna took up the wheel of a chariot and he ran towards Bhishma Dev to attack him in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So at that time, Bhishma Dev, obviously he gave up his weapons, his bow and arrow, and he offered beautiful prayers to Lord Krishna and addressed him as Rathangapani. Govinda Govinda Hare Murare, Govinda Govinda Mukunda Krishna, Govinda Govinda Rathangapani, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Bhishma Dev spent his final days giving spiritual and political instructions to King Yudhishthir while he himself was lying on a bed of arrows, having been wounded in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And the Mahabharata describes that Arjuna had shot so many arrows that even 2 fingers could not be placed between 2 arrows on Bhishma Dev's body. Right? But despite his own pain, Bhishma Dev could understand that Maharaj Yudhishthir was disturbed due to the great massacre in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And therefore he first spoke of the terrible sufferings of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He had been put into difficulty by injustice only, and the battle of Kurukshetra was fought just to counteract that injustice. And therefore Maharaj Yudhishthir should not regret the great massacre. He pointed out particularly that as long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, no matter how trying the circumstances of life. And in spite of being so qualified, all the Pandavas were great warriors themselves, and above all having Lord Krishna as their direct well-wisher, the Pandavas suffered so many practical reverses in their life. And Bhishma Dev is explaining that this is due to the inexplicable influence of Kal, or inevitable time. And Kal is actually a form of Lord Krishna himself. So this indicates the inexplicable wish of Lord Krishna himself. And there is nothing to be lamented when a matter is beyond the control of any human being, right? And therefore Maharaj Yudhishthir should not be sorry for the inevitable action of time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried just as the clouds are carried by the wind. So very poetic verses in Bhishma Dev's explanations to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Now the bewilderment of Maharaj Yudhishthir over his past sinful acts and the resultant sufferings, etc., was completely negated by the great authority of Sri Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev wanted to impress upon Maharaj Yudhishthir that since time immemorial, no one has been able to ascertain the real plan of the Lord. And therefore, it is useless also to inquire about it. The best policy, he said, is to simply abide by the orders of the Lord without argument. So, the sufferings of the Pandavas were never due to their past deeds. The Lord had to establish, he had his plan of establishing a kingdom of virtue, and his own devotees suffered temporarily because of that. And even a great fighter like Bhishma Dev could not win the battle of Kurukshetra, right? Because the Lord wanted to show that vice cannot conquer virtue, regardless of who tries to execute it. So the Lord teaches the world by teaching his devotees. The devotee does not really have anything new to learn because the Lord is always teaching the sincere devotee from his heart. We know in the Bhagavad Gita 10.11, the Lord has said, Tesham evanukam partham aham agyanajam tamaha nashayami atmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Whenever therefore a show is made of teaching a devotee, as in the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, it is actually for teaching the less intelligent men. And a devotee's duty therefore is to ungrudgingly accept tribulations from the Lord as benedictions. It's a very harsh truth to digest, but that's what Srila Prabhupada is writing in his purports, that if we get tribulations in our life, we should try to ungrudgingly accept them as the Lord's mercy, because the Lord is absolute, so really there's no mundane difference between his mercy or his any tribulations that he sends our way. So the Pandavas were advised by Bhishma Dev to accept the responsibility of administration without any hesitation. And this shows that Lord Krishna really wanted to glorify his pure devotee Bhishma Dev. And therefore Bhishma Dev was able to convince Maharaj Yudhishthir when the Lord himself had apparently not been able to convince him. So the Lord is always more pleased when his devotees are glorified. And we all know that later when he gave up his body, nobody in the history of the world has had such a death. After the Pandavas won the battle of Kurukshetra, Bhishma Dev was finally peaceful that the throne was in the right hands. And he wanted to leave his body looking at the lotus face of Sri Krishna while remembering his transcendental feature as Parthasarathi. This shows his unflinching faith in the Lord and devotion to Lord Krishna, which we know is the perfection of human life. At that time, he offered wonderful prayers to Lord Krishna, which are famous as Bhishma Stuti. So we'll read one of those verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Tribhuvana kamanam tamalavarnam ravikara gauravarambaram dadhane vapuralakakula avritananabjam vijaya sakherati me anavadya. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.33. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. So he is asking for ahetuki bhakti. So after the chronological events that took place in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, being extremely pleased with Bhishma Dev, Lord Krishna, as we discussed, he agreed to bestow his pure love on those who worship Lord Hari, follow certain austerities, and engage in devotional serving during these last 5 days of Kartik. The Padma Puran describes that austerities performed during Bhishma Panchak please Lord Krishna and help us advance in spiritual development. So this concludes our glories of Sri Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev ki Jai. So we'll shift gears a bit here and we'll see how this fast is actually observed, what we can do and how we can observe the fast according to our own different capacities. So the Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas states that if one is capable, one should observe fasting from certain foodstuffs during Bhishma Panchak for the pleasure of the Lord. Now, the purpose of this fast is to elevate ourselves spiritually and not just to torture ourselves physically. The purpose of all vratas actually recommended in the scriptures is smartavyas satatam Vishnu, vismartavyam na jatuchit, right? So always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And all other rules and regulations are just the servants of these two principles. So strictly following this fast and engaging in devotional service such as chanting, reading, hearing, studying the scriptures gives clarity to our thoughts, it gives purity to our senses and intelligence, it energizes us, and it strengthens our determination. So this Bhisma Panchak is actually one of the most effective vratas for cleansing one's heart, pleasing the Lord, and for making spiritual advancement. Bhisma Panchak begins today on Utthana Ekadashi by remembering Sri Bhisma Dev, and it ends on Ras Purnima, the full moon day, which is also the marriage of Tulsi Maharani and Shaligram Bhagwan. So what should we do during these 5 days? There are many things, but at a minimum we should offer a ghee lamp to Lord Damodar every day and sing Damodar Ashtakam. We should be vegetarian, so for all devotees we should eat only Krishna Prasad. And because Bhishma Dev was a lifelong brahmachari, we should remain celibate for these 5 days. We should study Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we should try to maximize our chanting, right? Chanting of the holy names, if possible, we should chant extra rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, the Garuda Puran describes that we should offer a particular flower to Radha Krishna on each of these days. So, if we are in a place where we cannot get these flowers, we can offer them in our mind. On the first day, we should offer Padma or lotus flower to the feet of the Lord. On the second day, we should offer Bilva, wood apple leaves, to the thigh of the Lord. On the third day, we should offer Gandha, scents, to the navel of the Lord. On the fourth day, we should offer Java flowers to the shoulders of the Lord. And on the fifth day, Malti flowers to the head of the Lord. So, if there's an overlap of the days or tithis, the flowers for the overlap days can be offered on the same day. And today being the first day, let us all mentally offer lotus flowers to the feet of the Lord. So there are 3 options for fasting during Bhishma Panchak, and devotees can choose whichever level of fasting that is convenient to them. But we should try to see that it does not disturb our daily sadhana and normal devotional services. And generally it is recommended to do a full fast on Ekadashi, and then the following days we can do fruits and roots fasting. Or one can do all days with fruits and roots fasting. It is recommended though that once you start a particular level, you should stick to it. So level 1 is Panchagavya. One can consume the products of the cow, which is called Panchagavya, each day. So first day is cow dung or Gomaya. We should have at least a pinch. Second day is cow urine or Gomutra, at least a drop. Third day is cow milk or Shira. Fourth day is cow yogurt or Dadhi. And fifth day is all products of the cow mixed, which is the Panchagavya. And water can be taken as desired at this level. So level 2, if one is not able to follow level 1, then one can follow level 2, where one takes certain specific fruits and roots. Now fruits with many seeds should not be taken. So fruits such as guava, papaya, cucumbers, etc. should not be taken. And in roots we can have boiled potatoes, raw banana, sweet potato. They can be taken either boiled or baked. We can use sea salt for taste. We can take cashew nuts, raisins, dates. We shouldn't take milk or milk products for this level of fasting. And coconut water, grated coconut can be taken. So level 3, Havishya. So if one can't follow level 2, one can take a simple Havishya Khichdi. And Havishya is usually made with rice and moong dal, but moong dal is generally avoided during Kartik. So we should try to avoid that, and no oil is allowed. So what we can use is rice, which is unparboiled. We can use pure ghee from the cow. We can use sendhwa, namak, mineral salt, ripe bananas, wheat, barley, fruits with few seeds, whole milk with cream from a cow, and certain spices. And here are some do's and don'ts for the ingredients, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. Detailed ingredients that are allowed during Bhishma Panchak are actually mentioned in Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas. So if any of you are interested, I would ask you to refer that. And I'd like to thank ISKCON Congregational Development Ministry that has put together a very nice video on Bhisma Panchak, from which many of the details included here have been taken. So I know some devotees also choose to follow just Ekadashi diet on all 5 days, and we can do that. And generally we should try to eat only once a day during these 5 days. Now this year, some of you may have noticed, Bhisma Panchak is only for 4 days, right? So one may question why that is the case. So the Panchak refers not to 5 solar days but to 5 tithis or lunar days. So from Ekadashi to Purnima, we have Ekadashi, Dwadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdashi and Purnima. So 5 days are included within that. Now the difference between solar days and lunar days comes up because the way of measuring these is different. Now, as we know, Bhishma Dev had no offspring, he was a lifelong brahmachari, and that's why Vaishnavas, being indebted to his teachings as spiritual sons and daughters, offer tarpan or oblations to him as a service every year during these 5 days, and this is Lord Krishna's arrangement. On the day of Utthana Ekadashi, there's a sweet pastime. Bhishma Dev had asked for water, he was thirsty. So while lying on his bed of arrows, he had asked for water, and Arjuna had shot an arrow into the ground from which the water of the Ganges had sprung forth, and it had gone directly in his mouth. So this holy place is still present in Kurukshetra. It's famous as Ban Ganga. Ban is the arrow, and the Ganga had come manifested there because of Arjun's arrow. So it's recommended that one should take a bath in the Ganges or a holy river every day during Bhishma Panchak, and one should offer tarpan 3 times to Srila Bhishma Dev. And there are very specific mantras for doing that, and there's a specific procedure that has to be followed. But if one lives far away from holy rivers, one can simply chant Ganga thrice. You can say Ganga, Ganga, Ganga while bathing in any river, lake or ocean, or in the shower, and it will be as good as bathing in the holy waters of Ganges. So by following these days of Bhishma Panchak, one gets the same benefit as if one had observed the 4 months of the Chaturmasya, if one had been unable to follow them. And on Purnima, we fast until moonrise, and then we break our fast. Now, His Holiness Jai Pancaka Swami Maharaj has always emphasized on following these 5 days in the Shastric way to the extent possible. And as quoted by Srila Suta Goswami from the Padma Puran, he has said that this liberating fast is unknown even to the demigods. So we all are eternally indebted to Srila Prabhupada, who has given us this rare opportunity to observe Bhishma Panchak. So as discussed, Bhishma Panchak Vrata is very glorious. By observing it, we can attain pure devotional love for Krishna, just like Bhishma Dev. If one observes this fast, it is considered that he has observed all other fasts, because it is very meritorious and it frees one from all sins. It also grants other benefits like a long life. So Bhishma Dev actually lived for 450 years. It grants us good health if we follow it properly, eating less, etc. But we should not really perform it for any material benefits. Our goal is to perform ahetuki bhakti. As Srila Rupa Goswami has said in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, he has given the definition of pure bhakti. He is saying, Anya abhilashita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, anukullena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttanam. So we should perform bhakti without any material desires, only to attain the love of Krishna and for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. Therefore, let us all make a great endeavor to fast on these 5 days of Bhishma Dev to please the Lord. And however we may have observed the month-long festival of Kartik, let us intensify it for these last 5 days by maximizing our bhajan and our devotional service. On each of these days, as discussed, let us offer ghee lamps to Lord Damodar, sing Damodar Ashtakam, read Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam, and serve the devotees of the Lord. Very important, serving the devotees. As Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings it, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies it. Jive daya name ruchi Vaishnava sevan, iha chara dharma nahi shuna sanatan. Here Sanatan, kindness to all living beings, taste for the holy name, and service to Vaishnavas. Apart from these, there is no other religion. So Vaishnav Sevan, There are three things which we should try to do during these 5 days. First is Vaishnav Seva, right? Serving the pure devotees. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings, Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Bhakata Seva Parama Siddhi Premalati Karamula. The dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, enthusiastic devotional service, and service to the pure devotees of the highest order are the roots of the creeper of devotion. So, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hai. So, for our own spiritual progress, it's very important that we continue to attend temple programs like this, to be in the association of devotees, so that we can also make some progress under their guidance. The second thing that we should try to do these 5 days and also always is Jive Daya. So we should try to do something good for others, try to help others, help someone who is less fortunate than us. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that the greatest help we can give anyone is to share our good fortune by giving them Krishna consciousness. And the third thing, last but not the least, is Name Ruchi. We should develop taste for holy names, chant the holy names of Lord Krishna with love, because Krishna is available to each one of us through his holy names. And there is no difference between the Lord and his holy names. Abhinatvan Nama Namino. So there is this quotation from Padma Puran which is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto Abhinatvan Nama Namino. We'll conclude with this, so please hear this with your full attention. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. So on these last 5 days of Bhisma Panchak, let us all make the best use of this wonderful opportunity to chant more sincerely and to call out to Krishna with love. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So I thank you very much. If there are any questions, comments or corrections, we can take them now. Hare Krishna. Yes, Mother.
Today being Ekadashi and tomorrow Dwadasi, we have to break fast, right? 5 minutes we have.
Yes.
What we are supposed to have.
So Mataji,
If you are
well,
totally fasting, nothing like this.
Yes.
Probably we can have some salad or whatever, but there are people who can have who are having fruits and all. So what would be the ideal way to break fast?
So Mataji, while researching for this, I read and as recommended by our acharyas, if you have Jagannath Puri rice, that small dry rice, you can break with that. But the thing is, you should take very little, just for the sake of breaking, if you are continuing with the Bhishma Panchak.
For those who do not have Jagannath Puri rice,
I don't know, maybe.
You can offer some rice, mentally offer to Lord Jagannath.
Break with some prasad. It's okay. But
Prabhuji is saying, Madan Gopal Prabhuji is saying you can mentally offer to Lord Jagannath and have just a tiny bit just for the sake of breaking. And like you said, if you are doing Nirjala, then you can have a little water.
grains we are not supposed to take
No,
in
but-
the Panchak.
yeah, but it's but Bhishma Panchak, that option is given to break it. Like even Janmashtami, we are full day fasting, that but still we can take Chanamrit. It's
Yes.
not considered as a fast breakfast. It's allowed.
Because Mataji, breaking it is very important. Breaking the fast during the parent time is very important, Ekadashi.
Yeah. that's
So
what.
very little just for break. So it's not as if you're eating it, you're just taking a tiny bit to break it.
Take a minuscule.
And then you're continuing with your...
Just a comment.
Yes, Mataji.
One class
class I heard years ago from Bhaktivinoda Maharaj addressed this, and he said, well, if you're doing Bhisma Pancaka, you break your fast in the last day. So you wouldn't break it tomorrow, you would break it on the last day.
I haven't heard that.
No, Maharaj here, so it's your choice. Maharaj has, I heard it in one of his classes.
Yes, Mother.
Thank you so much for a very nice class. For the second option, I'm a little bit confused. Is it like a Ekadashi food or just roots and fruits?
Just fruits and fruits. And there are certain things which are mentioned, right? You can't have milk products, no oil is allowed, etc. So if you really want to go by the book, that's why I said refer to Hari Bhakti Vilas, and there are, I think Jai Pancaka Swami Maharaj has details on his blog. While researching for this, I saw it. So you can, if you are interested, you can follow that, but then they recommend that you follow that level correctly, so then you don't mix other things in it. But then it's just fruits and fruits, and that too you avoid certain fruits, as I mentioned, with too many seeds, etc. So it's not that you can eat any fruits you want. Otherwise, I know some devotees, they just do Ekadashi Prasad for all 5 days. Whatever is comfortable for each devotee.
And that third option, which is Havisha, is just like khichdi?
It is khichdi, but again there are very specific ingredients that are allowed. So like oil is not allowed, you have to use pure cow ghee. And because it's Kartik, certain things are not allowed. Like I saw moong dal was not allowed. And wheat and barley is allowed, which typically we don't really put in a khichdi. But so again, if you want to do it the right way, you refer to those ingredients and you try to follow that.
And just one more thing for clarity. So the one who does option 1, right, they do that
Pancagavya.
Pancagavya. So then the people who are doing 2 and 3, do they still need to take that little bit on each day or no? It's just
No, I think we then just take it, those who are not doing Pancagavya, just take it on the last day. Because last day when we break our fast, I think in the temple they'll have Pancagavya and you just take a little bit and you break your fast with that. Yes. Thank you, Mother. Yes, Mother.
2 questions. You told that this is observed in the Satya Yuga as well as in the
Treta
Treta
Yuga.
Yuga.
Yes.
So that time is just the last 5 days of Kartik month, right?
So Mataji, actually these pastimes happen eternally. So Bhisma Dev appeared in this, in our cycle of yugas, he appeared after Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga. But these pastimes keep happening in all yugas. So when you hear these stories from the Puranas, they could be referring to some other yuga in which it has already happened. So the glories are already known. So just like Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not that it appeared only 5,000 years ago. It has been there eternally, but in our yuga, it manifested 5,000 years ago. So it could be Kalpabhed also.
Understand, but he may not have been called as Bhishma.
It has been called as Bhishma Panchak or Vishnu Panchak throughout. Yes, because Bhishma also comes eternally. So wherever, the Pandavas, it's explained, they are the eternal associates of Lord Krishna. And whenever he comes, they also accompany. So it's not that they came only this time. Next time when he comes, whenever it's scheduled, they will also appear with him. And Bhishma Dev is also an eternal associate. Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 Mahajans. So he's one of our acharyas. So he is eternally associated with Lord Krishna. So even at that time, it was called Bhishma Panchak only. Although Bhishma was to manifest later in Dwapar Yuga, still it was called Bhishma Panchak. That's my understanding, Mataji.
These pastimes keep happening eternally.
And so in
same pastimes
the
with a
next
little-
yuga where that is Kali Yuga, right? And
Yes.
we are waiting for that.
No, we are in Kali Yuga right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Bhishma will come later when the entire.
When the whole cycle runs again, right, in the next year. But I think Lord Krishna himself appears now. This is very specific and detailed. He appears only once in the day of Brahma, and he has just appeared. So he may not appear until the next day of Brahma. So these are all technical details, but the bottom line is that these are all eternal associates. So they have appeared in previous yugas also, and they'll again appear later also. They always accompany the Lord. I hope that's okay, Mataji.
For that matter, probably most of our souls also, right, will be there in every yuga.
which have not recycled.
Not only Bhishma,
every
not
soul.
only, but
So Mataji, our hope is that we go back, right? Our hope is to go back home to Godhead, and if we do that, if we go back to Vaikuntha Loka, generally will not come back. Unless Lord Krishna sends, like he sent Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is his eternal associate, but he sent him for preaching, right? So, but normal conditioned souls like us, if we go back home, back to Godhead, to Vaikuntha, to Golok, Vrindavan, we don't fall back down. These are Nitya Siddha associates of the Lord. They always accompany him in his pastimes. So we are not Nitya Siddhas. We are Nitya Baddha Jivas. We are conditioned, eternally conditioned souls. So there's always a difference between Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha. Is that? Yes, Madhavi.
If I understand correctly, Vishnu Sahasranamam was also sung by
Bhisma Devi, yes.
In what situation Bhishma Stuti, you explained about Vishnu Stuti, can you explain how Vishnu Sahasranamam was?
I'm not sure, Mataji, when Vishnu Sahasranam was sung. I know it was sung by Bhishma Dev because in the beginning it mentions, right, Bhishma Uvacha or something like that. But in reading about Bhisma Pancaka, I didn't really come across Vishnu Sahasranam. So I don't know if it was sung in the same period. Maybe not. Does anyone know?
During these 5 days, but during when he is in the aeroplane, until the Uttarani attains this one, Vishnu Sahasranam is part of Bhishma, what he is giving the lecture, right? He gives the advice, or that is what is called of this.
So it may be a part of the Shanti Parva. Actually, Shanti Parva is the longest recorded conversation in history. It was Bhishma Dev gave the longest lecture ever when he was telling Yudhishthir Maharaj about all these Raja Dharma, Stri Dharma, and Bhagavad Dharma, and all other things. And maybe it was it's called Shanti Parva in Mahabharata, and maybe it was a part of that, Mataji, but I'm not sure.
Something about timelines, see, if this Kartik month, the last 5 days itself, he is in the bed, right, Bhishma. But our Gita Jayanti happened sometime in December.
Yes.
But only after the Gita Jayanti, the war happens, and then Bhishma is on the aeroplane. So, and how that is he from now onwards until Uttarayana, or there is some kind of...
No, it's not the case.
Roji, you want to answer?
No, if you know, I mean, Bhishma Pancaka does not refer to the last 5 days of Bhishma's life. Bhishma Pancaka is a different time of the year, completely. He does his vrata not on the bed of arrows. He does his vrata year after year, the last 5 days of Kartik. It has nothing to do with him lying on the bed of arrows. There's no connection.
Gita Jayanti happens in December. So that is Gita Jayanti happens even before the war starts.
Yeah, the Gita Jayanti is a different question. So Gita Jayanti does not refer to the day when Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna. A lot of people don't know that. Gita Jayanti refers to the day when Sanjaya spoke the Gita to Dhritarashtra. And it was not on the same day, it was not live. There was a delay there, a few days delay. That is why the confusion is there.
And to add to Prabhuji's point, so Bhishma Dev, even while lying on the bed of arrows, he did perform this, Prabhuji. But like you said, he had been performing it throughout his life. The last 5 days of Kartik, that's what I read.
Yeah.
That as he was preparing to give up his body,
Okay.
he still performed this, but he had been doing it for a long time all along. Not that he just started doing it when he was
Right.
lying on
But
the
he
bed.
didn't do it on the Kartik day on the bed of arrows. Because in Kartik time, he was not on the bed of arrows.
Oh, is it?
Yes, that's the whole point.
Okay.
Because see, he was on the bed of arrows in December after Gita Jayanti. And he passed away in Uttarayan. So between December and January, he passed away. And Kartik is now. So there's no way you can align that. See? Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna, thank you everyone. Hare Om.
Mataji for wonderfully explaining the Bhishma Panchaka. Thank you. So now we'll have the Sandhya Aarti, and then we'll sing